Right, let's have a look at the test your understanding. Right, the king of algebra is circle your terms. So we're going to circle terms. You always do that first, no matter what you are doing. Right, so if I look at number 1, I have no plus or minus, so we know that is one term. So as soon as we know it is one term, we're going to say, are there any powers with the same base? There's an A, so A times A, I write down my base and I add exponents. Now I look to see if there are any other bases that are the same. There's a B, so I write down my B and I say 1 plus 1 is 2, and there's only one C. So my simplified expression is A squared B squared C. Let's look at number 2. Circle our terms. So I run my eye along until I get to my plus sign. In front of my plus is one term. I run my eye along the line until I get to my next plus or minus. So everything in front of that is one term. And I have no more pluses or minuses, so that is one term. So I have 3 terms. Right, what operation am I doing? Well, I'm doing multiplication. So the law of exponents says when multiplying powers with the same base, write down the base, add the exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. Right, this one we have to do signs, numbers, and letters. I have a plus, so my result is plus. Numbers, I only have a 3. Letters, do I have like terms? Yes, so I write down my base and I add exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. Look at the next one. I only have a negative, so it's going to be negative. So I've done my signs. Now I'm going to do numbers. I only have a 4. I look at my variables. I've got an A and an A, same base. Write down the base and add exponents. Now we inspect the answer. Are there any like terms? Well, like terms have the same variable, so let's have a look and see. I have an A squared term, an A squared term, an A squared term. So those are like terms. That's the family name, A squared. Right, how many A squareds do I have? Well, remember here is an invisible 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 minus 4 will give me 0. And if I have 0 A squareds, I have nothing. Let's look at the next one. First thing we do, we look for plus or minus. There's my first plus. Everything in front of that is one term. I run my eye along till I get to my next plus or minus. Everything in front of that is one term. This is one term. Do you see that the sign belongs to the numbers and letters that follow until you get to your next sign? Right, so let's have a look. We are going to do signs, numbers, letters. Right, this means 6 multiplied by C multiplied by C multiplied by D. Signs, it's positive, so it remains positive. I write down my 6. C multiplied by C. When I multiply powers with the same base, I write down my base and I add exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. And I only have the D. Now I look at the next term. I have a plus, so my answer is going to be plus. I only have a 2. I only have one C. When I multiply powers with the same base, I write down my base and I say 1 plus 1 is 2. Right, third term. I have a negative or minus. I only have a 3. I only have one D, so I write down my D. I have C multiplied by C. When I multiply powers by the same base, write down the base, add exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. CD, CD. What's the problem here? It is not in alphabetical order, so this should have been negative 3c squared d. So I've got 6c squared d plus 2cd squared. Do I have any like terms? Well, I've got a c squared d over here. I've got a c squared d over there. They are identical. This is not the same because it's a c and not a c squared. So when I have like terms, so they belong to the same family, I'm going to write down my c squared d, and I'm going to add the coefficients. So 6 minus 3, laws of integers, 6 minus 3 is 3. This one here I just copy down, plus 2cd squared. Let's look at number 4. First thing I do, run my eye along until I find a plus or a minus. Everything in front of that is one term. I have no other pluses or minuses, so this is the second term in that expression. Let's have a look what we're going to do here. Signs, numbers, letters. So I deal with the signs. It's going to remain plus. I only have a 5, so I write down my 5. S, so now I've got a power with the base is S, the base is S, so I write down S. There I have 2, and here is 1, so 2 plus 1 is 3. And I have a lonely little t there. Right, I have a minus, so I write it down. So I've done my signs, now my numbers. I only have a 2, so I'm going to write my 2 down. Now I look for like terms. So let's look for the S's in alphabetical order. So there's an S, there's an S, there's an S. So when I multiply powers with the same base, I write down the base, and I've got 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, and I have a lonely little t. Right, now I have to check again, are these like terms? Well, I've got an s cubed t, they are absolutely identical. So what I do is I write down the family name, s cubed t, and I'm going to apply laws of integers. So I say 5 minus 2, remember if you had a number line, 5 minus 2 would give you 3. So that is 3 s cubed t. Let's look at the last one. Right, first thing I do is I circle terms. I look for my plus or minus. There is my plus, so this is one term. I run my eye along. I find a minus this time. Everything in front of that is one term. This is the last term. So that is 3 terms. Now I look at each one of these individually. So it's almost like you've got a lens on that little part of the expression. Right, I do signs, numbers, letters. Plus, so it's going to be plus. I only have so I have a 2 times a 3. Now, how do I know they are multiplied? 2 dot 3 means 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. So I've done my numbers. Now I'm going to do my letters. So let's have a look here. So my letters, I've got a P, but no other P. So I'm just going to write down P. I then look at my Q. I have a Q there and a Q there. So when I multiply powers with the same base, write down the base. Q1, Q1, invisible 1 plus 1 is 2. And then I have a lonely little r. Let's look at the next term. I have a plus. I only have a 4, no other numbers. Now I look at my letters. PRQ, but we need to put it in alphabetical order, so we're going to go P, Q, R. And I can do that because PQR means they're multiplied together. Okay? 2.3 means they're multiplied together. So will I get the same answer if I say 2 multiplied by 3 or 3 multiplied by 2? You will still get 6. So you can swap them around. Right, let's look at the last term. So here I'm going to have a negative. So I've done my signs. Now I'm going to do my numbers. I've got 2 multiplied by 2, which gives me 4. I then look at my variables. Here I have a q squared, no other q squareds or q's, q squared, so it's going to be q squared. I then go and have a look. I have an r, so I'm going to write down my r, and I only have a p left. Right, let's have a look. PQR, PQR. So I should have written that. Okay, so now I have to copy down 6PQ squared R. I'm making sure it's in alphabetical order. 4PQR minus 4PQ squared R. Now it's easier to look for like terms. Here I have a PQ squared R, PQ squared R. So those two are like terms. I have to write down the family name, which is PQ squared R. I then apply the laws of integers. I say 6 minus 4 will give me 2. 6 minus 4 is 2. And this one I'm just going to write down as 4PQR. That's it for today, grade 8. I please want you to go to page 78 and you are going to do exercise 6.4.